If you've ever had a problem in your life that's become so unbearable that you start seeking answers, but you don't know where to look, you become so desperate for a solution, for advice, for somewhere to look, for a light, just to know that it's possible for you to get out there, you've done the only sensible thing. Type into YouTube your problem, how to deal with anxiety, how to become confident, how to deal with loneliness, grief, all these kind of things. You've probably come across a video on Stoicism, and most likely it's helped you. I know for thousands of people it's helped them. It's helped myself. I've had a problem, type it into YouTube, and Stoicism has been the guide for me. And I believe Stoicism has helped millions in the modern age. But there's something you probably didn't realize about all of these videos on Stoicism. They all feature the three same men. So these three men who wrote things thousands of years ago are now changing the lives of millions. But who are these three men? Welcome back to Stoic School Day 12 of 100 with myself, William Mulligan, author of the Everyday Stoic, Simple Rules for a Good Life. Stoicism has been described as a guide to the good life. It is an answer to all our problems, and I'm here to guide you through Stoicism, to explain the roadmap and the blueprints that is Stoicism, that was created thousands of years ago, that is still unrivaled in practicality and its life-changing abilities. So all I'm here to do is to explain it simply so you can understand this ancient wisdom. Today's episode is powered by Huel. Let's jump into the episode. Today's lesson is on the topic of the three most famous Stoics. Because when we first get introduced to Stoicism, we hear about a man named Marcus Aurelius, the great emperor of Rome. And we think to ourselves, this man made Stoicism. He didn't make Stoicism. He's just the most famous Stoic because he happens to be one of the most famous people throughout history, one of the most famous figures. But he also was a Stoic. And his book has survived today and sells millions even in the modern world. There are so many Stoics. There's so many to even mention that it would take hours of talking about all these Stoics. So I'm going to mention the three most famous because these three, if you learn about them, you'll know 99% of Stoic references you ever hear. You'll understand 99% of the quotes and teachings and advice because nearly everything you hear online or everything people are teaching and preaching comes from these three men. It's just adaptations of their words. So who are these three men? Marcus Aurelius, the last great emperor of Rome. Seneca, Lucius Annaeus Seneca, and Epictetus, who actually didn't have a name. Well, we don't know his name, and Epictetus is his given name, meaning acquired. I'm going to explain individually who these three men are, what writings they have that survive today so that you can actually read the words of these men that lived thousands of years ago. And then I'm going to explain my favorite teachings from them and my favorite passage from their books. First, Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, known as the last great emperor of Rome. He served from 161 to 180 AD, a time known as the Pax Romana. It was the golden age of the Roman Empire, and his death marked the fall of the Roman Empire. He wrote a personal diary. He wrote it for advice for himself, to help him through life, to be a good man. He wrote it when he was on campaigns, his military campaigns. And many of the themes are on death and how to be a good person and on anger. But this diary, after he died, someone picked it up and decided to publish it. And thousands of years later, still selling millions, it's the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. So my three main takeaways from his works. Bear in mind, I've read this book for over a decade, just battered, beaten, but full of wisdom, and you can keep reading it. It's amazing. My three main key takeaways. Number one is to always remain a student. The first book of the Meditations is dedicated to the lessons he learned from friends, family, and tutors. Marcus Aurelius was always a student, and it has been noted by historians that throughout all the way to his old age, he was still attending lectures and learning. Always remain a student. Number 2, there is no pursuit greater than being a good person. Marcus Aurelius describes that this illusion of being great, being this great leader, being a great man, being ultra successful, this illusion can lead men to ruin and stop us from doing the important thing of actually being a good man. We always admire the good people in this life, the people that carry traits that are really good. Kindness, braveness, discipline, courage, integrity, honesty. We admire these things. And Marcus Aurelius believed that the most important pursuit we can have in life is to pursue being a good person. Number 3 is to love our fate and whatever good or bad comes our way. This is a topic by the Stoics known as amor fati, to love your fate. The idea is that life will be handed to you regardless. We lose a loved one, we become sick, we become injured, we lose money, we get a new job, we find love, we have a beautiful child, we go on holiday, whatever. All these things that happen in our life, the fate that unravels before us, it's happened. You can't stop it. You've been handed this thing. You've been handed an illness. You cannot stop it. You've been handed death of a loved one, a friend. You cannot stop it. It's already happened. Marcus Aurelius says that we must love our fate. It's been handed to us, so we love it. We make the best of it. We love it and say, amor fati, love your fate. So my favorite passage, and this was hard to pick out, but my favorite passage from the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. If you set yourself to your present task along the path of true reason, with all determination, vigor, and goodwill, if you admit no distraction, but keep your own divinity pure and standing strong, as if you had to surrender it right now, if you grapple this to you, expecting nothing, shirking nothing, but self-content with each present action taken in accordance with nature and a heroic truthfulness in all that you say and mean, then you will lead a good life and nobody is able to stop you. I love that quote. The next philosopher, the next great Stoic is Lucius Annaeus Seneca the Younger, or we just know him as Seneca. And he lived around 4 BC to AD 65. He was a Stoic philosopher of ancient Rome, a famous writer, and he was the tutor to Emperor Nero. He wrote so much great work in his life, many famous tragedies, and more famous was his letters on ethics and his surviving work today that is just known by most people that get involved in Stoicism, and is some of my favorite work, is Letters from a Stoic, which I highly recommend. By the way, these books I'm talking about are full of the greatest wisdom and practical self-help that you can ever receive. So when I'm saying check out this book or check out Letters from a Stoic, I mean it. They are just life-changing, and they're very easy to read. You can just read a little bit each day. They're not like, you don't have to stick around with a story. So, my 3 main takeaways from the work of Seneca. Number 1, life is not short, but we just waste most of it. He says, you have 80 years to live, 60 years to live, 50 years to live. It doesn't matter. If you waste all of it, then it's pointless. A great 1 year, a year of life well lived, is better than 70 years of drudgery, misery, complaining, pitying. Number 2, we have enough in this life, but desire makes us feel poor. This is a concept that's seen throughout Stoic literature, from Marcus Aurelius to Seneca, and then even to Epictetus, who was a slave. So you got Marcus Aurelius, who was super powerful and rich. You got Seneca, that was very rich, extremely wealthy. And then you got Epictetus, who was a slave. So this idea is that what we have right now, we can be grateful for what we have, but we always desire more. So when we get that more, we're in a mindset of desiring more. So we're always trying to get, and attain. We're trying to hoard our wealth like a dragon. We're trying to, not just wealth, I mean things, achievements, successes, all this thing. We're trying to hoard it all as if these merits are little badges on us that show that we've lived a life well lived. They do not. They often hold you back in life and make your life a life unlived because you spend most of it trying to grab things. A quick word from our sponsor, Huel. I really like Huel. When I was writing my book, I was using Huel to power me through every single day. When I had my daily greens, when I had my meals, when I had my shakes, it stopped me from going to the shop, buying a load of rubbish, buying a load of unhealthy food, wasting loads of money. And these things do add up. Those quick journeys to the shop every day, the money adds up, the unhealthy foods add up, the wasted time adds up. So if I ever get those cravings, I grab a Huel and it fills my cravings. I feel good, it tastes delicious, it's quick and easy. And if you have any interest in the Huel products, then check the link in the description. Let's get back to the episode. I'll explain a story about Diogenes the Cynic, actually, who inspired the Stoics. I'll explain it quickly, but Diogenes the Cynic had nothing. He lived naked in a barrel. And one day, Alexander the Great is walking the streets to go visit Diogenes. And, Alexander the Great was very wealthy, kind of like Marcus Aurelius, but wealthier. And he steps over Diogenes and said, "Diogenes, I'm Alexander the Great. If I could give you anything, what would it be?" And Diogenes said, "Move out the way of the sun." The point is, people say, Diogenes was wealthier than Alexander the Great. Why? There's nothing out of his reach. There's nothing he couldn't get that he wanted because he desired for nothing. Whereas Alexander the Great was full of desire. He wanted more. So he always felt slightly empty. Okay, the last takeaway from Seneca: benefit and harm come from within, not the external. They say that a fool looks for benefit and harm in the external world. And this makes you reliant on the external world, whether it's good weather, whether your team win, whether your boss is nice that day, whether your boss is an idiot that day, whether the bus is late or early. These things provide us happiness or sadness. So we're just sat there being prodded by the external world. Well, the wise man knows that benefit and harm come from within. That if your boss is rude, well, the benefit comes from within. I'm happy regardless. I'm happy that I'm not falling victim to my boss's idiotic ways. I'm keeping my peace. I'm keeping my wisdom. That's what gives you benefit. And then the harm comes when you step out of nature, your own human nature. My favorite passage from Seneca: true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. For he that it so wants nothing. The greatest blessing of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not. And lastly, perhaps my favorite of the three, and perhaps my favorite philosopher of all time, Epictetus. Epictetus was born around 50 CE, Hierapolis, which is in Greek. He was a slave, and we don't know his actual birth name or any of that, but we know at some point in his life he was given a name, Epictetus, which means acquired. It's a pretty cool name to be given. And after he gained his freedom, he would go on to teach people his Stoic philosophy. These teachings weren't actually written down. He didn't write anything down. He just went out and taught people. These teachings were wrote down by his student, Arrian of Nicomedia. He wrote them down, and this is now known as the Discourses and Enchiridion of Epictetus. My three main takeaways from Epictetus are: first, distinguish between what you can and can't control. And then second, concern yourself only with what is in your control. This is known as the dichotomy of control, which I'm sure if you've been here since day one, Stoic School, I did a lesson on dichotomy control, and I like to talk about it a lot, but I'll sum it up with his quote: some things are within our power, others are not. Within our power are our opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power: health, wealth, reputation, office, and in a word, whatever is not of our own doing. The idea is that most people give 99% of their efforts and attention to the external world outside of our control. They're trying to control the traffic, the weather, people's opinions. But the wise man, the Stoic, gives all their attention to the internal world that they do actually control. So when it's bad weather, we control our opinion about this. We control that. So we give all our attention to our opinion. I won't get upset about the rain. I can't control it. If someone's rude to us, if someone's stuck in traffic, I give all my attention to the internal. I go, I won't let this person disturb my peace. I won't let this traffic disturb my peace. I'll decide to work towards something that is better for me. The next takeaway from Epictetus is: education is useless if you do not apply it to your daily life. He says a quote along the lines of, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. And I think this about a lot of philosophies, teachings, religions. I think many people believe they're being a good student of this philosophy or this religion, a good member of this religion, a good member of society, if they're telling people what to do, how to be a good person, how to be a good this, how to be a good that. And they feel productive doing this and arguing about it, proving why their way is right. Well, Epictetus believed that what we should do is be a role model. We embody the teachings. We embody it so well that people look at us and go, I want to be like him. How is he like that? Oh, he follows this religion. Oh, he follows this philosophy. He does this practice. I can see why he's so peaceful now. He's been learning about Stoicism. He's been learning about Buddhism. I understand it now. Rather than just telling people what to do, actually embody it. Be that thing. And number 3, freedom is determined by your mind, not by your body, bank account, or possessions. Freedom is determined by your mind. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what situation in your life. You can always decide to be free in your mind. Epictetus was obviously a slave, but he says that not even Zeus can chain his will. You know, you can tether his leg, chain him up, but not even Zeus can chain his will. It's always free, always. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor, he wrote in his book Man's Search for Meaning, he talks about this, that he says everything can be taken away from man except the last of the human freedoms, our ability to choose how to respond in any given situation. And that's a powerful quote, but it's powerful when you think what his situation was and where he was writing these ideas down. My favorite passage from Epictetus: what would have become of Hercules, do you think, if there had been no lion, hydra, stag or boar, and no savage criminals to rid the world of? What would he have done in the absence of such challenges? Obviously, he would have just rolled over in bed and gone back to sleep. So, by snoring his life away in luxury and comfort, he never would have developed into the mighty Hercules. And even if he had, what good would it have done him? What would he have been the use of those arms, that physique, and that noble soul, without crises or conditions to stir him into action? So that hopefully clears up something about the 3 most famous Stoics. When people start to talk to you about Stoicism, now you understand mainly who they're talking about. In later lessons, I'll explain the other Stoics because there's so many of them. We didn't even talk about the founder today. I've done a lesson on the founder actually, but there's so many Stoics that had huge influence, had great teachings, had great stories. There's some very interesting Stoics. There's one Stoic that died laughing at a donkey eating a fig. one of the only recorded cases in history of a man dying from laughing. So, interesting. That is it for day 12 of 100 Stoic School. I hope you're learning a lot. And please let me know if you're sticking around since day one. I'd like to see a comment just saying you've been here since day one. I've seen a few. If you want to support me, the best thing you can do, second best thing you can do, that I really appreciate, if you can leave a rating. If you listen to this on streaming platforms, if you're on Spotify or Apple Music, just leave a rating, please. It really helps. It shows, it makes you feel good. It really helps with the platform. It really does. And I'm very appreciative of any help you guys can give me. If you're on YouTube, like, share it. And if you really want to help, the best thing you can do is introduce a friend, family member, colleague, anyone that you think needs it to Stoic School. The hopes is if they can stick around Stoic School, they can start to shape their life in a better way. They can fix their problems. Stoicism has helped so many. I get messages all the time that it's helped lives, it's saved lives, it's really changed my life. Got over like anxiety, made me happier, made me more balanced, made me more confident, made me feel good. That's down to Stoicism. So I'm hoping to be able to share that with someone. And hopefully if you can share it with someone, then you might be changing their life. Also, have a great day. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next lesson.